All right, quarter one, week 8, day 3. Write each fraction in its simplest form. All right, well, I know for sure that 2 goes into both 18 and 4. So I'm going to just divide each one of those in half. I know half of 4 is 2. And I know half of 18 is 9. At this point, there's nothing I can do as far as dividing something into both 2 and 9. But I can change the improper fraction into a mixed number. So how many times does 2 go into 9? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 5 would be too many, so it's going to be 4. So 4 times 2 is 8. We have used up 8 of the 9 in the numerator, so there is only 1 left over out of 2. So there's 4 1/2. All right, for this next one, let's see, 24 and 32. I know that 2 goes into it, but I think a couple other numbers do as well. I'm pretty sure 8 goes into both of them. Okay, so if we divide 24 divided by 8, and that's going to give us 3, and then 32 divided by 8, and that's going to give us 4. So our answer is 3/4. We can't reduce it anymore, and that's the best we can do. So simplifying each of these fractions, we have 4 1/2 for the first one and 3/4 for the second one. Jesse has a piece of wood that is 8 feet long. He needs to cut that into 7/8 of a foot long. So how many pieces will be able to be made? All right, so I'm just thinking initially 8 feet long, each one's 7/8 of a foot. Well, 8/8 of a foot would be 1 whole foot. So it's going to be really close to the number 8 is going to be the answer, but I mean close to that. So let's find out exactly what it is. So if we're starting off with 8 feet, and we're going to be dividing that and seeing how many 7/8 of a foot will go into it. So it's 8 divided by 7/8. Whoops, I didn't mean to do it that way. So 7/8. So the 8 is going to have to become an 8 over 1. All right, so at this point, to solve this, we're going to keep change flip. So we're going to keep the 8 over 1 as 8 over 1. Okay, the division sign is going to be a multiplication sign, and 7 over 8 is going to be 8 over 7. All right, so we can see if there's any cross-reducing capabilities. There's really none of those. 8 times 8 is 64. 1 times 7 is 7. All right, so at this point, we have 64 over 7. So we're just going to have to divide 7 into 64. So 64 divided by 7 is equal to 9. But there's some left over. 9 times 7 is 63. We've used up 63 of the 64. So we have 1 left over on the top out of 7. So it's 9 1/7 is the answer to this one. So basically that would be the answer for that problem. Next, we are to find the quotient. Once again, we've done a lot of these, and occasionally we'll go ahead and work them out, but there's a lot of other concepts we try to get into really, really quickly. So for this one here, write it down. It's 700.058. It would be a really good idea sometime to write this out and see if you can get that answer correct on your own. But that is the answer. 700.058 would be the quotient. That would be the answer to this division problem. All right, so now we're going to find the sum, and we have numbers with decimals. Every single time I say that, we have to do a certain thing with those. We have to line them up. So we have 23,457.9. And then we're going to add 387.15. All right, so you notice when we line up the decimals, we have some place where there's no number one above another one. So we can add the 0 in there just so that we know it's a placeholder. So let's go ahead and add these up. So we have 5 plus 0 is 5. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carrying the 1. 7 plus 7 is 14. Plus 1 more is 15. Okay, we have 6 plus 8. 6 plus 8 is 14. Okay, carry the 1. 4 plus, we can do 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. And then we have a 3 and a 2. So at this point, we just bring the decimal down and put it right there. Okay, and we go over 3 places. So the answer to this one is 23,845.05, or 23,845 and 5/100. What is the greatest common factor of 60 and 24? Okay, well, let's find out. What are the factors of 60 and what are the factors of 24? Okay, so we can do 1 times 60. We can do 2 times 30. We can do 3 times 20. Actually, we can do 4 times 15. We can do 5 times 12. We can do 6 times 10. Can we do anything with 7? Nope. 8, 9. So now we're down to 10, so we're repeating, so we're good with that. And the factors of 24 are 1 and 24. We can do 2 times 12. 3 times anything? Yeah, 3 times 8 is 24. 4 times 6 is 24. 5 times something? Nope. 6 times something? Yeah, 6 times 4. So what is the largest number that is in both of these? We're going to have to look and see. Let's see, I see a 12 in both. And it looks like that is the largest number that is in both of them. So the greatest common factor of 60 and 24 is 12. Find the missing number of each unit rate. Well, how do we get from 7 down to 1? We're going to divide by 7. So we're going to have to do the same thing with 21. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So here's our unit rate, 1 to 3. What do we do to get from 4 down to 1? Well, we're going to divide by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So our unit rate on this side is 1 out of 4, or 1 to 4. If 3 pieces of candy cost $2.10, how much would 4 pieces cost? Oh, so we're going to have to find out how much each piece costs on its own. So if we have $2.10 is what the cost is for 3 of them, let's divide 3 into that. So how many times does 3 go into 2? It can't. How many times does 3 go into 21? Well, 7 times, right? 7 times 3 is 21. Bring down the 0. How many times does 3 go into 0? 0. So basically what we're finding out is 1 piece of candy, if 3 pieces cost $2.10, then 1 candy equals 70 cents. So once we know that, okay, if 1 candy is 70 cents, how much would it cost for 4 pieces? Okay, all you have to do is take 70 cents times 4, right? And so 4 times 0 is 0. 7 times 4 is 28. Okay, and then you just look and see there are 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. Just bring those over. Boop, boop. We end up with $2.80. Okay, or you could have taken the original cost, which was $2.10, and added the 70 cents to that, and then that would also have given you $2.80. But either way, that's how you would find out how much it costs for 4 pieces of candy. All right, what is 40% of 80? All right, guys, we know that 40%, anytime you see something like this, 40% is the same as 40 over 100. Okay, if it was 50%, it would be 50 over 100. If it was 90%, it'd be 90 over 100. So 40 over 100 of means times. When you're talking about word problems, 80. Okay, so basically we're going to take 40 over 100 times 80. Okay, which would also be 80 over 1, right? So with that being the case, we can go ahead and multiply these across. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so 100 times 1. Let's do the bottom first because that's easy. 100 times 1 is 100. All right, and then we have the top, which are some bigger numbers, except we're really only having to multiply 4 times 8. because 4 times 8 is 32. And then we're just going to put the 2 zeros, because anytime you're multiplying by a base 10 number, you can just multiply by the numbers in the tens place or hundreds place and then add all the zeros. So that's all we really have to do. And once we get to this point, it's going to be pretty simple, because you just look and say, well, how many times does 100 divide into 3,200? Well, you just cancel out zeros. Okay, so that's all you really have to do, which ends up making this 32 over 1, which basically means 40% of 80 is 32. Okay, so, and then if sometimes you just want to make sure that that makes sense. Okay, if you have an answer like 40% of 80 and you end up with 120, well, that doesn't make any sense, because 40% is less than half of 80. So it's going to be less than 80 for sure. So if you get an answer like 120, that's obviously no good. So in this situation, you got to make sure it's reasonable. This seems very reasonable. 40% of 80, or yeah, so 40% of 80 is 32. Okay, so let's see. We have Christy ran 700 meters while Jessica ran 4 kilometers. So we're comparing someone who ran 700 meters to someone who ran 4 kilometers. So who ran the furthest? Well, at this point, we kind of need to know something, and I kind of wrote it down right here. 1 kilometer is the same as 1,000 meters. Okay, so if that's the case, we know exactly how much Christy ran. She ran 700 meters. Okay, and that was Christy. So that was easy. So now we have to convert. Okay, how many meters did Jessica run? Well, since 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, if she ran 4 kilometers, that's going to be 4 times 1,000, which would be 4,000. And that was run by Jessica. Okay, it's interesting to see there. All right, so at this point, I think it's really, really clear who ran further. Obviously, the person who ran further was Jessica by quite a long distance. Okay, so even though initially it might look like Christy ran a lot more because there's a 700 in comparison to a 4, when you actually compare them apples to apples, where they're both meters, using the same rate or the same unit, it's clear that Jessica ran way more than Christy did, and there's your answer for that one.